It's a pound-from-pound beatdown for Boots Ennis. Declaring the winner by TKO, he's still undefeated. And the new unified WBA and WBO super welterweight champion of the world, Jaron Ennis.
Everybody involved with the making of this fight said this fight does not happen unless you are the one that's pushing for it. Instead, you're jumping right in with the man that people believe is one of the top fighters in any weight class and all the boxes. The question I have is why? Why were you so insistent on making this fight happen?
So it's a unification fight. That was a legacy fight. I had to say yes. If I was gonna say yes, I would have hung up the gloves. You know, that was only two options: either hang up the gloves or take that fight.
What do you think you do better than him?
I think like I said before, I think he's a solid fighter. You know, a good fighter. Yeah, he's champion for a reason. You know, but I think I do everything better. You know, all around the board, I do everything. I can box, I can bang.
Yeah, I do worry about it, but it's not even worth worrying about it because if it happens, it happens. You gotta stick on it and continue to work hard and continue to do this or that, and everything will work out.
And like I said before, I would have fought them same two guys he just fought. The whole world would be bashing me.
Yeah.
For sure. That's how you know I'm at a different level. And I'm gonna show them there's really levels to this boxing game. Like I said, yeah, a solid fighter. Solid fighter for sure. Getting better, but I'm gonna just be too much for him.
The 154-pound division is heating up, as the possibility of a major clash between Jaron Boots Ennis and unified champion Sebastian Fundora continues to gain attention. Boxing trainer and analyst Greg Hackett shared his view on the matchup, suggesting that Fundora may still need to mentally prepare himself for the level of danger Ennis would bring. In Hackett's opinion, stepping into the ring with a fighter of Boots' ability could require the towering champion to become fully comfortable with the challenge before accepting it.
What happened at 154? I think it's going to happen at 60.
Why?
I don't think Fundora wants that trouble at 54. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's so sure of himself. I think it's going to take him a couple years mentally to be really sure of himself. He talk a good game. He do. When he do his interviews, he talk a hell of a game. 30 seconds. He talk a hell of a game, but I don't think this is just me off of my observation. I don't think he's pleased with himself just yet to say he's going to fight Boots after after this fight.
Chris Algieri sees Fundora as one of the hardest fighters in the division to solve right now. He pointed to Fundora's massive physical presence, while also recognizing how much the champion has improved since his fight with Brian Mendoza. Algieri noted that Fundora now shows greater discipline, makes smarter use of his jab, and avoids unnecessary exchanges. Those improvements have transformed him into a much more complete opponent and could make him one of the toughest tests available at 154 pounds.
Puzzle. He's so long, and he's getting better. He's improving. He's learning how to use his size. He's using his jab. He's being more disciplined. He's not taking risks like he used to. Talk about a guy who used to allow people to hit him and then has figured out that you shouldn't do that at the highest level in that Brian Mendoza fight. But since then, he's been very, very good. So, yeah, I can understand why people would see him as the final guy because, again, with those physical advantages and the way that he's getting better, very.
Tim Bradley Jr. also described Fundora as an extremely difficult opponent at this stage of his career. Bradley suggested that some contenders could be hesitant to challenge him while the champion is performing at such a high level. Instead, fighters may prefer to wait and see whether Fundora eventually shows signs of slowing down. That hesitation alone demonstrates how much respect the towering champion has earned inside the division.
Because that man is from around my way. He's from around my way. He's from the valley. I got none but respect for Fundora. They see the danger in fighting him right now.
Hackett views Ennis versus Fundora as a compelling matchup because their physical approaches are so different. Fundora's extraordinary height and reach allow him to operate from long distance, giving him an obvious advantage on the outside. Ennis, meanwhile, would need to close that gap and turn the fight into a much more compact battle. Hackett believes that once Boots gets within striking range, the equation could change quickly. His speed, accuracy, timing, and ability to throw combinations could put Fundora under tremendous pressure at close quarters.
When a tiger go after a giraffe and they be working him out, and even though he's tall, he be trying, he be doing little shit, man. It's just hard to get the fuckers off. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be like a tiger and a giraffe, one of them types. Once Boots get him.
Chris Algieri also questioned whether Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s recent lack of activity could hurt him against a high-level opponent such as Josh Kelly. Algieri warned that spending too much time away from competition can become a major problem when the opponent is operating at an elite level. In his view, rankings and reputations can only tell part of the story. The clearest way to determine which fighter truly belongs above the others is to settle the question through direct competition.
And Jaron, with the level of talent he has, he can beat anybody on any given night. So, yeah, it's a really interesting time. And then even I got another title list, Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult style. And he knows what he is, he knows what he isn't. He will fight his fight. So he's a disciplined guy. He's got a lot of heart. He showed that in the Murtaza Aliyev win. So yeah, it's a lot of very good champions.
Stephen Breadman Edwards expects Jaron Boots Ennis to encounter two very different types of challenges if he faces Sebastian Fundora, and Virgil Ortiz Jr. Edwards believes an Ennis-Fundora matchup could become intense very early, with Boots eventually using his pressure and accuracy to wear down the much taller champion and potentially earn a stoppage. Against Ortiz, however, Breadman anticipates a longer and more tactical contest. Ortiz's patience, disciplined style, mid-range work, and inside fighting could force Ennis to solve a much different
this fight, because where do you find 6'6" southpaw sparring with an 80-inch reach? Where do you find that at? You know what I mean? Like, everybody hires Mike Fox, but there's only one of him. You know what I mean? Like, where do you find that?
Everybody goes to Fox. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Where do you find that? Like, a tall southpaw is like 5'11", 6 feet, 6'1". Fundora is 6'6" in boxing shoes. Where do you find that at? With a jab, with an uppercut, with a hook. He's mean, he's battle-tested, great conditioning, and he's improving in front of our eyes. So that might be, you know what I mean? The fact is, Virgil is right-handed, about 5'9", 5'10". You could find 20 sparring partners. They may not be better than him, but they can give you what he gives you. It's hard to find something for Fundora. You have to get heavyweights or cruiserweights to spar you, literally, because junior middleweights and middleweights don't walk around at 6'6". Like I said, there's only one Mike Fox. So I just think that for whatever reason, this is the way my mind is viewing it, that Boots and Fundora is an early round shootout. I think that Boots, it looks like Hagler versus Hearns, and Boots gets him early. Not easy, but early. I think that Virgil and Boots go longer. I think that Virgil is a little bit more talented than Fundora. I think Boots beat Virgil because he has a better jab and can kind of score too many points with his straight punches, and Virgil marks up. And Boots is he's constant with his attack. Virgil marks up, he swells up, he bleeds all over the place. I think that will play a factor.
Breadman also stressed that Ennis cannot afford to become careless during exchanges with Ortiz. Ortiz generally protects himself with a compact guard and responds with short, sharp combinations rather than leaving his hands exposed. That could create opportunities for him to counter whenever Boots becomes too aggressive or allows his combinations to get too wide. Although Edwards still favors Ennis in the matchup, he considers the exchanges at mid-range to be the area where Boots would face the greatest danger.
He doesn't drop his hands, he throws his punches right from where they're at, and he throws short, quick hooks and uppercuts, and he's kind of even-handed. And I think that would be, Boots will have to be on his game, because Boots likes it. Even though Boots could play with Virgil and do fancy stuff from the outside and use his speed, at some point Boots is going to back Virgil up, try to back him up, start beating his body and working in the mid-range and the inside, because that's where he likes it. That's how he sees a fight. You can't fault a person for seeing a fight the way they see a fight, but that's where Virgil likes it also. And I think that in there, that Boots will have to be really, really sharp, because although Boots is more talented than me, to me, I think sometimes Boots, right in those ranges, he drops his hands a little bit and kind of wings his shot sometimes. And Virgil is a little bit more tighter and shorter right there. I think that will be the one area that Boots will have to be careful with Virgil if they're exchanging. Like, let's say they're exchanging hooks and Boots throws one of his winging type of hooks and Virgil just sit on one, boom, and turn it right over. I think that will be right there, where Boots could possibly have some trouble. So I think that he will have to be more careful with Virgil. With Fundora, the game plan is a little bit easier because he's so tall. He got to just, you know what I mean? He got to dog him. He gonna have to dog him. And believe it or not, Hans, sometimes the more difficult fight is the fight where you have to pick which game plan to execute. because Virgil, he can outbox Virgil, in my opinion, right? But somebody else may say, you know what, Virgil's a come forward fighter. If Boots pushes him back, then the fight's over with. That's another way of looking at it.
Should Ennis and Fundora eventually share the ring, Craig Hackett expects Boots to steadily take control before breaking the champion down late. Hackett believes the fight could reach the final stages before Ennis finds the opening for a stoppage, possibly around the 8th through 10th rounds. His prediction is based on Boots' combination of speed, timing, technical skill, accuracy, and punching power. Hackett feels those tools could give Ennis an advantage over the level of opposition Fundora has encountered up to this point.
Only because he will be able to show his inside skill. He gonna have to box him on the inside. He gonna work his way. He can get past the jab, but he can break his body up. Sure.
How does it end?
I say probably going the distance, maybe.
Sebastian Fundora also weighed in on the potential matchups and acknowledged that Ennis has looked impressive since stepping up to 154 pounds. However, when Fundora was asked to compare Ennis with Virgil Ortiz Jr., he gave Ortiz the edge. Fundora believes the difficult third round Ennis experienced against Xander Zayas exposed areas that another elite fighter could potentially exploit. Despite that opinion, Fundora still expects either matchup to deliver plenty of action for boxing fans.
Like you're the top of your division. After you, who do you feel is like the guy in your division?
I guess Ennis. Ennis with his last win, you know, I mean, he looked good. He looked good doing his thing. He looked like he had fun as well. So it's nice to see I mean, he's been a champion before, but a fresh face in 154.
Okay, all right. And then say the talks you go through with Boots and Virgil. Who you got in the fight?
I favor Virgil. I mean, we saw that third round. That was enough for me to see what I needed to see, but
LVA Tim Bradley Jr. remains extremely confident Ennis if a fight with Virgil Ortiz Jr. comes together. Bradley believes Boots could dominate Ortiz in a similar fashion to his performance against Xander Zayas. He argued that Zayas did not possess the combination of elite speed, power, and overall ability needed to seriously challenge Ennis. Bradley also explained that Boots was willing to exchange early because he wanted to understand what his opponent could bring before making the necessary adjustments and taking control of the contest.
Look, man.
But that was expected, though.
Listen to me.
You're talking about Zayas as a guy that isn't known for his punching power at all. That was
or his speed, or really his skills. He checks boxes at a decent level, but not at an elite level.
But the thing is that he didn't feel the pop. You got to understand that about Boots. Boots is willing to take yours to get his, and it's a trap, right? A lot of his flows, but I'm just telling you that I know it's not always a good thing, but it works for him, and I think that he fights off a feeling. That's what it is.
Max Kellerman offered a more measured prediction, saying Ennis should technically be considered the favorite because of his natural advantages. Boot brings height, reach, athleticism, and strong defensive skills into the matchup. Still, Kellerman sees the fight as extremely difficult to call, essentially making it a 50-50 contest. He also highlighted Ortiz's stronger body of work, especially his impressive victory over Israil Madrimov, arguing that Ennis would have to prove himself against an established elite opponent.
Boots, right? Because generally, that guy wins those fights. But it's a different thing than actually going out and beating Virgil Ortiz and doing it in style. If he
especially
fights,
in that type of manner.
Who should be the favorite in that fight, Shady?
I'm going with Boots.
Favored.
Yeah.
He should be the betting favorite.
Yes.
I think this is a genuine coin flip fight. I really do. And I think we have to remember that Virgil Ortiz has fought the much, much better competition.
That's true.
He beat Israil Madrimov, very quality win. Madrimov gave Crawford all he could handle.
This fight happens and Boots wins a close, tough fight. Then he is.
Robert Garcia, who trains Ortiz, confirmed the report surrounding the potential fight. According to Garcia, promoter Eric Gomez, Ortiz's father, and other members of the team approached him to get his approval for the matchup, and he had no problem giving it. Garcia also rejected the argument that Ortiz needs a tune-up before taking on another major opponent. He pointed out that Ortiz competed less than a year ago against Israil Madrimov and has remained active, unlike certain fighters who can spend more than a year outside the ring without receiving the same criticism.
Every time, you know, they talk about a fight, certain fight, whoever it is. Obviously, I'm the one that they call for the decision. I talk it over with Senior, my team, and everybody else. So that is very true. I'm gonna tell you guys, it is very true. The fight is very close. Eric Gomez, Virgil Senior, Rick Morigan, they all came to me, asked me what I think about the fight. I said, let's do it. There's no need to wait for that fight. There's no need to get a fight before that. Like a lot of people might think that Virgil needs a fight before that. No, he doesn't. Virgil fought less than a year ago. There's world champions right now that don't fight, that fight once a year or once every 18 months, and nobody says they're out of timing because of the delay. No, Virgil fought, less than a year ago. People seem to forget his performance against Madrimov. Virgil's active. Virgil's busy. We don't need to get a fight before that. The fight will happen. The only thing that could stop the fight is if Boots decides not to fight. But the fight on our side, I was the one that like I told you guys, Eric Gomez, Senior, Rick. I said, let's do it. There's no question. There's no doubt that we win this fight. So we're.
Hackett recognizes that Fundora's extraordinary 6 feet 6 inches frame and tremendous reach create a difficult challenge for virtually anyone. However, he does not believe Fundora's improved use of those physical advantages has completely removed the defensive weaknesses in his style. Hackett believes Ennis has the durability, intelligence, and adaptability required to study those openings during the fight. If Boots can recognize those moments, he could take advantage of them and turn Fundora's size into a less significant factor.
Between the 8th and 10th, I don't think he's going to see the 12. It's going to be too much for him.
What is it? You said who? I said, what's the deciding factor? Because everybody's looking at the length of Sebastian Fundora.
That's cool, but he just started using his length for. You know what I'm saying? The most I can get Fundora, he battle tested. He went to wars and shit. That's another thing that plays in Boots' favor. He already went to wars. And we seen somebody who's nowhere near as technical as Boots or hit as hard as him or fast as him, put Fundora to sleep. So Boots ain't never been asleep. So, it's interesting though, because boy is 6'6". I get it, but that shit don't mean nothing, bro. He stopped.
Stephen Breadman Edwards leaned more toward Ortiz when discussing how the matchup could unfold. He explained that once an opponent manages to get inside Fundora's reach, the taller fighter can have trouble dealing with fast, accurate combinations coming from both hands. Edwards pointed to Ortiz's performance against Tim Tuju as an example of how that type of pressure can work effectively. At the same time, he acknowledged that Fundora has shown an ability to gradually wear opponents down and remain dangerous as fights move into the later rounds.
That Virgil and Boots go longer. I think that Virgil is a little bit more talented than Fundora. I think Boots beat Virgil because he has a better jab and can kind of score too many points with his straight punches, and Virgil marks up. And Boots is he's constant with his attack. Virgil marks up, he swells up, he bleeds all over the place. I think that will play a factor in the fight. I think it will go longer, but I think that Virgil is very fundamentally sound in the mid-range and on the inside. And he doesn't drop his hands, he throws his punches right from where they're at, and he throws short, quick hooks and uppercuts, and he's kind of even-handed. And I think that would be, Boots will have to be on his game because Boots likes it. Even though Boots could play with Virgil and do fancy stuff.
If the matchup takes that direction, having the actual links to the Sebastian Fundora and Tim Bradley Jr. interviews would make it possible to incorporate those segments properly and maintain accurate sourcing throughout the video.